Welcome back. You're now watching the lifestyle segment on the weekend show. Now, the Federal High Court in Abuja in November declared the activities of bandits at bandit groups as acts of terrorism. This was done in a bid to strengthen the call for the federal government to declare bandits ravaging the northwestern and north central region as terrorists. Now, a month after the court order, the federal government on January 5th officially gazetted the order. Prior to that time, the Minister for Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, said the federal government is ready to deploy Super Tucano fighter jets against bandits. Now, discussing this on this segment is High Chief Mark Ajayi, who is a public affairs analyst and also a security expert. So we will be having a conversation about how this affects Nigerians. And this is brought to you by Holo Crunch Popcorn. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
And a Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year. Same to you.
It's interesting to state that we are both studying for a PhD in security and strategic studies.
Yes.
So it's good that we have professionals like you to discuss such topics which affect the everyday living of Nigerians as we exist. So initial thoughts, what are your thoughts on the federal government now declaring bandit groups as terrorists?
Yeah, good morning, viewers. Permit me to just make one correction. My name is Michael.
Yeah.
So,
yes, Michael.
Yes, and I'm on the path to obtaining a PhD.
Yes.
So, not yet concluded, but my work is in progress. Yes, my thought concerning the federal government declaring bandits as terrorists is a welcome development. And it shows that the federal government is trying to declare asymmetric warfare against them to ensure that they are the bandits are completely obliterated. Don't forget, before now, the previous administration before the current one had treated this issue of banditry with kid gloves. And don't also forget that the sum of $2 billion was approved by National Assembly to fight terrorism. And that was when it was highly restricted to northwestern part of this country. But it was treated with kid gloves. The sum of $2 billion was shared for political purposes. Some of the politicians obtained 800 million for prayers. A politician in Southwest got 100 million. The publicity secretary of PDP got 400 million, and so on and so forth. And yet we said we were fighting terrorism. So initially, when this matter started, before it first started, we were approaching it with kid gloves. If we had nipped it in the bud at that time, and we spent the sum of $2 billion obtained to procure arms for that purpose, I think we would not be in this kind of situation. So the politicians allow it to fester to the extent that it is now uncontrollable. So the government declaring bandits, kidnappers, cattle rustlers as terrorists is just to show that kinetic action will be taken ruthlessly against them. And that is the implication of it. And all this talk of amnesty will go to the background. You cannot imagine somebody going to a village, killing 78 people, and then he comes out, and then you have a handshake with that kind of person. That, I think, is the purpose of it. Now it's going to, the military now has, those in the theater of dealing with the insurgents, that is Nigerian military and others, now have the full mandate to declare war on the bandits and get, on the terrorists and get them out.
So, Chief Michael, according to the gazette, what's been gazetted, the groups which are listed are the Yan Bindiga and Yan Ta'ada group, which those are the names which I know were clearly stated. Yeah. However, people and security experts have stated that it's a war against terrorism, against the insurgents, that has driven some of these insurgents and terrorists, the Boko Haram sects, with their different names, out of the forest and they've now scattered into other parts, and they're now acting unmasked as bandits. Do you think there's a correlation? Do you think it's the war against the insurgents in the northeast that has now pushed them to the northwest and north central, where they are now seen as bandits, or do you think they're different groups?
Well, there are so many groups. Well, the Gazette mentioned 2 groups. Yes. How do you identify the 2 groups?
That's the question.
So that is a problem. So, you know, they don't have any label to say, oh, I belong to this. And, you know, there's this Salafist ideology that they want to revert back to the original Islam, the practice of Islam. So, and that group is there. And they are scattered everywhere. They are in Kaduna State. Just some few days ago, the governor of Kaduna State was saying that they had taken over the Kaduna forest. So it is difficult. They have mentioned 2 groups, but there are so many groups. And for me, the groups are coming from North Africa, the Sahel region of North Africa. That is where they are coming from. They are different from the Nigerian Fulanis. Let me put it that way. And I'm sure you know those I call Nigerian Fulanis. These are our traditional Fulani people who live and speak the language of where they reside. That is the true Fulanis. But these Fulanis, they have different stock. They are different. These ones are just being funded by some people. I don't know what their interest is. Just as I said, they are this Salafist ideology to create a caliphate where a theocratic state where it will be driven by pure Islamic practice. That is the ideology. And they get their funding from different organizations beyond their region. So these bandits, there are so many. There are so many groups. And poverty is one thing again. Because of the level of poverty, they are susceptible to being recruited for this purpose. Just a small amount of money, a little bit of training, giving them arms and ammunition, and then they go. And they want to die because they have been indoctrinated to believe that they are going to implant pure Islamic practice.
So the federal government now declaring bandits as terrorists, and seeing the fact that you can't necessarily identify bandits and say you're from this group or that group.
No.
Isn't it just being politically correct by placing a tag on them when they still can't necessarily be identified? What real impact does it now have with them being declared as terrorists and being gazetted?
Well, the impact on the terrorists,
on the security situation in the country.
Yeah, the implication, let me say,
yes.
The implication is that, just as I said in our opening, that it now emboldens, empowers the military to apply kinetic action against them, declaring war. If it had been an open, a conventional warfare, trust Nigerian military, it would have been over in the second. Remember, they went to Sierra Leone, and that was the tension in Sierra Leone. They went to Liberia and did the same thing. A little bit of skirmishes in Gambia, and it was suppressed. But, you know, these are they are ragtag army groups going from one area to one area. And you see, the kidnapping aspect of it, I have looked at it critically. They are looking for funds to procure arms. That is the objective. Because they need arms to continue to fight. You know, how will you obtain? I think there's a World Bank report that said trying to get the amount of money they have obtained from kidnapping, ranging to billions of naira. Then what will you be doing with billions of naira if not that? And you are not building industry with it, you are not building houses with it, and you see them wearing rags and so on and so forth. The objective is to obtain money for their principals to procure arms. That is the objective.
Now, why do you say this move by the government emboldens our
empowers and emboldens the Nigerian military
forces? It's interesting to note that just in the past week, there's been videos being circulated on the internet and on social media of insurgents attacking the Tuko Institute for War and Peace, Research Institute for the Nigerian Army University in Buratai village in Biu local government area of Borno State. I saw the videos, and We saw them removing the Nigerian flag, the Nigerian military flag, demolishing the building, destroying property, and they had arms and ammunition, and we didn't see any fight back by the Nigerian military. The place was pretty much deserted, and now this is a military structure. This is part of the military infrastructure. So you stated that the previous administration were attacking this with kid gloves. But what's the difference between then and now? If these people are emboldened to now even attack military infrastructure?
Yes, that should not be unexpected. We should expect such a thing. The military facilities are so many, and it is difficult for me, the way I see Nigeria, to protect everything. Don't forget that we had serial abduction of school children. So many areas in Niger State, in Zamfara State, in northwestern part of this country, there's this, proliferation of abductions. The military installations that you have that have been attacked, it is difficult to get, a huge force to protect them. So you should expect that this attack will continue like that. In the areas, I said earlier that they are ragtag army. And it's not a conventional warfare. If it's a conventional warfare, it will be, you remember the Mau Mau struggle in Kenya. When you are a small band of army, you can operate very well. You attack this place, you disappear. You attack this place, you disappear. But again, it is just to tell us that we have to go back to using IT solution. Because IT solution technology has been known to be a game changer in the whole thing. The use of drones. And the Nigerian military is full of intelligent scientists. In fact, I'm aware that they have manufactured their own drones. So all these military installations, we need to install drones so that we use it to monitor. Because that's the only way you can protect now. It's difficult for you to put in every military installation in this country a battalion. That would be difficult to do. But technology can solve most of these problems. In Morocco, they have used the same system to do that. In United Arab Emirates, they have used the same technology, drones, and so on and so forth. So IT technology, it has come to the fore now that the use of IT will help tremendously the ground forces to fight this insurgency. So
not to sound political, and as a security strategist, creating an institute for war and peace in the village of the former chief of army staff, in the middle of warfare, in a targeted area, how strategic is that? Doesn't that show a little bit of lack of strategy by the government putting that institute there, which has now left it open to attack, and we have now seen the attack? Why did that have to happen? When there were other locations this would have been done, which were more secure, and it would even help better. But putting it in the village of the former security chief, who is now an ambassador, what was the awareness? What was the strategy behind that? Do you think that was a strategic move? Because from what we're seeing now.
Well, I don't see that as a strategic move. I think the creation of that institute there is, he took it there when he was in office. Most of these people, when they're in office, they try to ensure that they use their offices to implant something that in their local areas, and that's what he did. I think there was not enough security planning in terms of securing that place well enough. Don't forget that during the time of the last administration, the village of Bade was attacked. And yet he was chief of army staff, chief of general staff. And his village was attacked. Then we started asking the question, could it be that the chief of general staff could not protect his own village? So I think that I would say somehow that maybe it took them unawares. And that was why I was saying that there's need for improved coverage. Of recent, we read the attack on NDA, Nigerian Defense Academy, yes, which is supposed to be a security fortress. In fact, the moment you approach the Defense Academy gate, you begin to have some fear that you are going to a military zone. The same thing along to Jaji. All the Jaji to Nigerian Defense Academy, that is pure military zone. And you begin to feel it even before you get there. But surprisingly, the bandits went there and attacked and killed some soldiers, some officers, and adopted some. And that incident is more of a challenge to the Nigerian military, that they need to look at all their military installations all over the country and devise a strategy of protecting them. Because if you make them vulnerable, the bandits will continue to challenge you, to tell you that, look, we are in existence. And then it's like demeaning their power, demeaning their strength, that, look, we are here to show strength for strength. And to me, I see it as a challenge to the military high command to begin to sit down and locate all their military installation and come out with a strategy of protection of this military. Because the moment your military installation has been attacked, it shows a point of weakness on the leadership. But if you've interacted with some of them are our friends, very highly cerebral. If you see them, they know everything about. There's nothing you want to discuss about security that they don't know. If you talk of intelligence, Nigeria has one of the best intelligence in the world. The DSS, they have tremendous amount of information at their disposal. The Nigerian Intelligence Agency, the military high command, all of them they are men of repute in terms of their area of specialization. So when we even talk, we civilians at times, it's like we are teaching them what they already have known years back. But you see, the Nigerian press will continue to raise it as a challenge to the Nigerian military. So what I would say is that the attack on this military installation is like a wake-up call to the military high command, that they should begin to identify all their military installations all over the country, whether it's an institution, whether it's a strategic area where you keep your equipment, they must be adequately protected. Because it doesn't even speak well in the international community. You cannot hear that any person is going to Pentagon to attack Pentagon, whether in the air or... Just see what happened of recent in Borno State when our president visited the place. Before he landed, they were shooting.
Yes.
This should not happen at all. It shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't. The president should be protected everywhere. As his plane is going, if it were to be America, as the, what's the name of the Air Force One? The moment he's moving, they are everywhere in the air. Everywhere in the air. And that is the same approach that should be done to protect Nigerian president.
So while we reel this in, we must commend the Nigerian government for declaring these bandits as terrorists, because I think it would be hypocritical of us if we've been asking for them to do this and now this has been done. Yeah. So I think it's commendable, but the political will and the strategy needs to be improved. Even the president's state has constantly been under attack, and like the incident which you just mentioned in Borno. So, which is why when you compare between the last administration and now, it's more like the problem has changed. Exactly. But as we reel this in, what advice and how do you advise the Nigerian government to tackle the problem of insecurity? And on the other hand, what do we as citizens need to do?
Yeah. As we as citizens, we should not harbor all these bandits, because when you talk of intelligence, intelligence is not in the air. Intelligence is being provided by the people. So the role of Nigerians in all this area is not to work hand in gloves with these bandits. You must provide adequate information to the appropriate quarters so that they can process and profile this information and use this intelligence to work. That is for the Nigerian citizens. But for the government, we have a lot to do. And all the measures they have taken, there are so many measures. In Zamfara State, the government went to the extent of shutting down base stations, telecom base stations. In my visit to the place to check the effect of it, the local people said it has not changed anything. The no-fly zone that was imposed, I interviewed a traditional ruler who said they don't even have airstrips. But the Minister of Communication sometime in an interview, he said that the Arms for Gold was responsible, and that little aircraft come there bringing arms for gold. I'm still investigating that. The traditional ruler tried to dispute that it doesn't happen, but that is a popular view in beyond the villages there. Then for the Nigerian government, just as you said, it's something that we have to commend them. For the first time, we have seen this having the political will to declare these terrorists, these bandits as terrorists. We have a lot to do in the area of intelligence gathering. I'm even thinking that we should think of establishing an intelligence council that will meet regularly to compare notes. Working in silos definitely will not be of help to Nigeria at the moment. There should be a National Council of Intelligence where it will be reviewed constantly. UAE did the same thing, Morocco did the same thing, and then there's need for us to pursue the area of regional cooperation and regional intelligence gathering and discussion, because it appears that this issue of banditry is within the realm of the Sahel region in Africa. So we need to go to all these countries and then share intelligence. Then when you want to drain a river, you want to stop a river, you go to the source. We need to go down to the source of these people coming to Nigeria. They are not Nigerians. We need to go to the source. And that is, if you see how Soleimani was eliminated in Iran, he was seen to be one of the major sponsors of those creating terrorism in Iraq. He was eliminated. So we need to identify their leaders and begin to eliminate them from the source. We don't allow, when you eliminate them from the source, they don't come to Nigeria. So we have to go beyond our shores. See how the president can do that. And he's been doing that. Of recent, some leaders in West Africa paid visits to him here. And I believe one of those things discussed was issue of insecurity. So we need to secure Nigeria by going to the source to eliminate the sponsors. Another thing we have also to do is we have to look at the network of supply, both in arms and funding. We must identify them and their sponsors and then eliminate all this. If we can do, and that is what the Gazette is trying to do, if we really dig deep into it. We have to identify the sources of funding of these bandits, because the arms they use, they are really sophisticated. 2 days ago, Governor Zulum was on telly, and he was still saying that 2 local government areas have been taken by the bandits, and that the people are even forced to pay taxes, and so on and so forth. So that is to show you that we need to check the sources of funding of these bandits and cut it out. Then the banks again have a role to play in this area, because when people are beginning to withdraw huge sum of money, you need to find out what exactly are the monies being withdrawn meant for. Then there is need also to use electronics devices to track down where these monies are being taken to. If we can do that, if somebody say bring a ransom of 5 million, there should be a chip that will be put in that money, cash that is being collected, because they don't allow, when they kidnap people, they don't do bank transfer. They want cash. Once that is done, in fact, the moment they report that there's kidnapping and they're asking for money and you have to go to the bank, there should be a chip in that money. And then the chip will enable the intelligence community to track where this money is going, and then you eliminate them. Of recent, I have to commend the federal government for taking the bold step of importing Tucano jets. Tucano jets is an intelligence-driven jet to enable you to identify your targets. They have imported that and it's working effectively. And as they are bombarding them in Zamfara and everywhere, you see them moving down south. So as they migrate, the security agencies too must wake up to ensure that they don't also proliferate their sanctuaries in the southeast, in the southwest, because we have big forests in that area of coverage, where they can begin to train their colleagues So that's another area we need to
Hi,
look into.
Chief Michael K. Ajayi. The issue of security is inexhaustible. It's a conversation which we must constantly have, and it's something which the Nigerian government must see and take as a priority. And so we will continue to charge the Nigerian government to intensify their efforts in fixing the problem of insecurity in Nigeria. Unfortunately, that's the most we can take on this segment for today, but we will be bringing you on later in the year just to review and see how it goes. To our viewers at home, we still have more on the weekend show. Don't go away. We'll be back shortly after this break.